There are a lot of great, great works that kind of get us through the contentious times we're living in. Kim Strassel, who's a member of the Wall Street Journal editorial board, she writes a weekly column, Potomac Watch. You see her often on Fox News. She has written a new book, Resistance at All Costs, How Trump Haters Are Breaking America. And she explores the damage that those who suffer from Trump derangement syndrome are doing to the country. There's no real reasonable policy debate. This is a hatred of a guy on a personal level. It's a real honor to welcome on our guest line the one and only Kim Strassel. Kim, I know how busy you are. Congratulations on the book, and thank you for taking some time to join us here on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Well, Mike, the honor is all mine. It is really great to be here.
Thank you. I am so appreciative of your focus, and I want to test a theory out on you because I'm not kidding you. After the last 48 hours, sometimes I think the mainstream media is like a secret plant for Trump. I mean, you couldn't script any better the Washington Post writing a fawning obituary calling the world's most dangerous terrorist an austere religious scholar. You couldn't script this better to have the S&P 500 hit an all-time high today. The economy is soaring. Weeks after Trump announces he's pulling out of Syria and they flipped out and said he doesn't know what he's doing, then we get al-Baghdadi. I'm not kidding you. It almost feels like the stars align, and even his harshest critics are so over the top as to almost not be believable. You know what I mean?
Oh, Mike, are you saying that you actually picked up on the very subtle difference between the media reporting on the death of al-Baghdadi and the media reporting on the death of bin Laden?
It was hard to do, but I got out a microscope and I kind of noticed some subtle differences. Subtle. I mean, honestly, whining about not... Let's start with the complaint that he didn't give Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats advance notice. Can we sink our teeth? Why in the world would he tip off the Democrats who are holding, as we speak, secret meetings that they are leaking selectively about in order to impeach the guy?
Yeah, you know, the media bias here is so overwhelming. I don't normally go in for media criticism because it's almost too easy at times. But I actually devoted a whole chapter to it in the book because there is no way to write about what has happened over the past 3 years without acknowledging that the media has gone far beyond media bias. It has overtly joined one side of a partisan campaign against Donald Trump, and in the process abandoned all basic journalism standards. And it's why so many Americans don't have any faith in the media anymore. But yes, your point, that's just an excellent example. The notion that Donald Trump has an obligation to partner with the people who are leading impeachment proceedings against him. It's so over the top and mind-bending. It's why average Americans laugh at this kind of coverage.
I spent a half hour convinced yesterday morning that this Washington Post obituary and headline was satire. I thought, no, this is a fake. There's no way they would debase themselves this way. And yet they do. Kim, over and over, this president gets vindicated. For example, the whole deep state debate. There are plenty of establishment types who I think almost to this day continue to say, there's not really a deep state. Heck, look at the New York Times. They're admitting there's a deep state. They're just proud of them.
Yeah, no, they came out with that op-ed saying, oh, yeah, we should be so happy that there are potentially millions of people working for the federal government who think they don't have to abide by their employment rules and who are making their own, quote, moral decisions on a daily basis about how to run the country. Mm-hmm. We didn't elect an unaccountable bureaucracy to run the country. We have elections, we have a constitution, we have a way that all of this is supposed to work. But this is the mentality of the resistance, which I try to go through in the book, which is that because they fundamentally believe that Donald Trump is an occupier of the White House, that he is not a legitimate president, that they are somehow entitled to break all the rules and all the standards and all the norms. And this is what's doing real damage to the structure of our country.
And it's such an important theme. And that's what I loved about your book so much. I mean, last week I played the clips of Hillary Clinton during the 2016 campaign denouncing Trump for seeming to suggest that he wouldn't accept the outcome of the election. And now, for 3 years, she's gone around saying he's not the legitimately elected president of the United States, literally doing what she accused him of doing. And in his case, he was being Trump. He was like demurring. He was joking. And I don't know if I'll leave. I don't know if I'll accept these results. Ha, ha, ha. She's literally doing it.
Don't you love it how he continues tweeting around all of those signs that say Trump in 2024? He just does it to trigger everybody. And it always works like clockwork. It's amazing. But you have them not only not accepting the results, the double standards are apparent everywhere. Look what we're watching right now. You had in the 2016 campaign, the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee funnel Russian disinformation to the FBI, which was used as the basis of an investigation or surveillance warrants into Trump campaign officials. And now, for merely asking about Joe Biden on a telephone call, Democrats are saying that rises to an impeachable offense.
Right.
You can't hold both of those concepts in your mind simultaneously and say it was awesome what the FBI did in 2016, but impeachable for what Trump did, which isn't even on the same level. But you see these double standards constantly, and then also these claims that because they dislike him, they're also entitled to change all the rules in such a way that they would have power forever. So, I mean, we don't like Donald Trump, so now we're going to pack the Supreme Court. We don't like Donald Trump, so we're going to get rid of the Electoral College. I mean, these are very dangerous concepts.
And damaging to the country. Kim Strassel is with us. Resistance at All Costs is her book, How Trump Haters Are Breaking America. Kim, can we kind of do a deep dive on the very smart people? And I don't say that to be sarcastic, but you know who they are. There's a lot of smart conservatives who loathe this man. And the Never Trumpers are fascinating to me because I keep wondering why they literally have abandoned some of their conservative principles, notably life. I think the life issue is one of the most important ones that they seem to ignore because they don't like the way he tweets. They don't like his tone. They don't like his temperament. They don't like how he does things. And they clearly want him removed, which would, of course, then ensure a Democrat victory. Do you think these smart conservatives who hate Trump recognize how they're undermining our foundations in the way your book explores? In other words, do they care about the damage that their opposition, that their resistance at all costs to Trump is doing to the United States?
Well, first of all, you put your finger on the real problem, which is the principles problem, right?
Right.
There are a lot of people out there, even people who voted for Donald Trump and plan to vote for him again, who don't always like his tweets, don't always like his tone, don't always like his demeanor. But they have decided to view this presidency through the same lens that they have judged other presidencies, meaning, do they like the policies that he's putting out? Yes. Is it enough to reelect him in their minds? Yes. We conservatives have always had differences of opinions on those policies and the best way forward. But the problem, as you said, is folks who seem to be unable to put aside those questions of personal judgment and just acknowledge what no one can dispute in terms of a great economy, in terms of the benefits of mass deregulation, in terms of the Supreme Court picks and appellate court picks that have been put on the judiciary. These are things that conservatives have fought for years. And now there's a president who is fulfilling these campaign pledges. That should be cause for celebration. But there is something, again, and I sort of put some of these people in the same category of the resistance. Their dislike of him is so overwhelming that they're willing to put aside an entire lifetime of work.
Well, and I've never heard, maybe you have, but I have never heard a plausible explanation as to why they're willing to forego all those foundational aspects of what it means to be a conservative. Have you ever heard any of them? Because, listen, a lot's been written about, and you got great people. I mean, listen, some of these people are my friends, and I have the hardest time understanding where they're coming from. But if you look at the list and you go down the list, and I mean, some of these folks I know, some of them I don't. Bill Kristol, Jonah Goldberg, Charlie Sykes, Pete Wehner, There's a whole bunch of them that have written volumes of why they think Trump is unfit and unstable and he's the worst and he's the devil, all that. But have you ever heard any of them explain how they have completely been willing to forego those foundational aspects of conservatism with their hatred of Trump?
No, I haven't. And look, you just pointed out they have been very loquacious on how they view him as morally unfit to be in that position. And, I guess my view on that is that, and we wrote about this in the Wall Street Journal editorial page when he was elected, which was, people went into that election booth and voted for him in full knowledge of his entire history and his past and everything. And they were willing to overlook some of these questions. And it isn't for us to therefore believe that we are smarter than the voters out there, or believe that, we're not going to accept him as a president when other people decided that the judgment was that they wanted him and they understood the history. I haven't had as good of I haven't really ever heard an explanation for why you then cast aside principles. And I should point out that some of those people on the list, and they're friends of mine too, they haven't, not all of them have abandoned the principle side of it. They continue to dislike him and wish he were not president, but they have also been willing to say, this policy was good or bad. So there are distinctions even between those ranks, but it is problematic. Look, I think some people have found new careers and new leases on life by being in
no
this
question
position as well too.
A lot of them are getting a paycheck where they probably wouldn't normally be employed. They're working for MSNBC and they're writing for the Washington Post and they're appearing on CNN as paid contributors. Indeed, what I find amazing about this conversation about principles, they think we've abandoned ours. They really do. They continually. Pete in particular, I've had a lengthy friendship with and in exchange with Pete over the last few years. He doesn't understand how any he's very upset about the evangelical Christian support of President Trump. He doesn't believe, he doesn't understand how someone with a moral foundation can support this president and presumably his policies in any way, shape, or form. And it's a mystery to me, Kim.
Well, like I say often, most people I know who are Donald Trump supporters and Donald Trump voters are thinking people who are honest about the fact that sometimes they don't like some of his policies.
Right.
Sometimes they don't like the things he says or does.
Right.
This is what thinking people do. I can't think of any president who's ever won 100% approval by a voting base or 100% disapproval, right? We are thinking humans. We make judgments on a day-to-day basis, on an issue-to-issue basis. What I've tried to do, and it is frustrating to me, to be called like a sort of Trump sycophant.
Right.
When in fact, there's plenty of things that he's done that I've said, no, that wasn't good from a policy perspective. But I have also tried to be consistent, as have you, as have so many others, and say, no, guess what? It is never right for the FBI to be investigating political campaigns, a presidential campaign. That's just, we don't want a world in which that happens. We don't want a world in which we saw the Brett Kavanaugh hearings unfold and the damage that has done to the Senate confirmation process. No nominee deserved the treatment that was not meted out there. We don't, as a country, want a Democratic Party or any party that is so cheapening the impeachment process that it will be used as a partisan political tool going forward. These are the things that, that are justified. They justify it in their minds, but it's actually doing real damage to the country.
I devoured your book, Kim, and I really hope everybody gets it. Resistance at All Costs, How Trump Haters Are Breaking America. And I'm not saying this just because you're on the line with me. You're one of my absolute go-tos. I'm so grateful for your voice and your clarity and your strength in all this. And I just hope you keep fighting the good fight and you'll come back and join us again soon.
Well, Mike, right back at you. We have you on the radio every day, so you help us with our sanity too.
We're doing our best. We got to fight the good fight. Thanks so much, Kim. Appreciate you joining us. The great Kim Strassel joining us. Tremendous book. And I'm